Okay, we're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here and welcome. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Certainly. Trustee Arnett. Trustee Holder. Trustee Kotinek.
Aye.
Trustee Kukler.
Aye.
Trustee Langen.
Here.
Trustee McCarty.
Here.
President Livingston.
And here, with that, we do have a quorum. Mr. Clerk, please lead us in the pledge.
My pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 2 this evening, our report. Just a few items and then a brief recitation of a strategic planning session the board undertook recently. First of all, I want to congratulate the team here and the businesses and all the partners we have here in LaGrange. Chicago Magazine. Chicago Magazine has featured LaGrange in their March issue as a destination to visit. This article is titled "A Field Guide to LaGrange, Why It's High Time You Hopped on the Metra and Zoomed Out to This Leafy Suburb." And so we appreciate that. Community vitality is one of our strategic pillars. And this is something we were pleasantly surprised to find out about after the fact, so we appreciate that. Another item, LaGrange Gives, another example of community vitality. This is an initiative of the LaGrange Business Association, which continues until the end of the month. And that is when you dine out here in LaGrange, you'll be giving back to various nonprofit organizations that benefit our community. Each participating restaurant will give back 15% of your food purchase to their nonprofit partner. The beneficiaries include the LaGrange Public Library, Hope Chest, Community Nurse, Historical Society, and others. And more information is on the LaGrange Business Association website, lgba.com, or our website at the Village here, villageoflagrange.com. And then finally, a couple more things. The budget workshop. This is a annual budget workshop that we have scheduled on our operational expenses. It is scheduled for Saturday, March the 12th at 8 p.m. in the lower level conference room here at the Village Hall. The public is welcome to attend. And the preliminary budget documents will be available at the Village Hall and Library and posted along with the village manager's message on the village's website by Friday, March the 4th. And finally, then wanted to thank our team from Public Works, as well as ComEd for their partnership in what was the reaction to 70-plus straight line winds in the area that we experienced on Friday. There were quite a few of you without power. ComEd, in this case, was, by our estimation, more responsive and quick to try to work through the various issues with that. Ryan, put you on the spot. Is there any specific instruction you have or information as it relates to follow up on that? You can say no, or you can offer instruction.
Generally, no. We were able to pick up the brush that was placed out due to the storm. Our next brush pickup will be the first week of April.
Okay, thank you. I'm advised by Bob Polipshin that our budget workshop is at 8 a.m., not 8 p.m. in the lower level on March 12th. If you come at 8 p.m., you'll have to go across the street and have dinner because we won't be here. Or if we're still here, it's going to be quite a budget, let me tell you. With that, let me transition finally to a summation of a strategic plan session that the village and Mark Birkeland and our department heads and our village clerk undertook in early January of this year over at the hospital. We do this every 2 years, and what I thought I would do briefly is zip through that because we wanted the public to know what was discussed at that. And trustees, please, at the end, if I've left something out, we certainly can handle that. So let me advance this if it works. We met, and the session design consisted of three major components: a review of our core values, a SWOT analysis, and goal setting. And this is something that is, again, a biennial process, with each session building on the preceding plan. We really deal in long-term planning and a continuum of planning here in the village. So first, to the core pillars. The village developed these pillars in about 2005 as a combination mission statement and set of guiding policy or pillars, and a framework in which to organize our strategic goals. And these values have largely remained unchanged, with the exception of periodic and minor refinements to either add clarity or further definition. The village board did reaffirm that the overarching mission, the core value for the village, is to preserve and enhance the quality of life that we enjoy in Grange. The village board also discussed the 5 other core values, which are posted up on the screen. 1, maintain and strengthen the village's financial position. 2, structure, support, and develop staff resources to deliver core services. 3, maintenance and capital planning for our infrastructure. 4, deliver core services. And 5, community vitality. We'll briefly discuss some specific goals as they're tied into that in a minute. The next part of the session was an assessment of internal and external factors that impact the village's quality of life, commonly referred to as analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, SWOT. Basically, and I'll briefly go through some of these, the strengths as they were seen were everything from our professional staff to our 5-year planning budget to a solid financial position to an engaged community, collaborative residents, partnership with the businesses, social services, and then key things like the hospital, transportation, and momentum that we've built up as a place to live and to work. And certainly our partners in the library, park district, and schools. We listed weaknesses as the lack of flexibility in being able to raise revenue in a hurry, or have that flexibility if something structurally went wrong with the state of Illinois, or something on the outside which required a large amount of operational funding quickly. There are home rule constraints, and we are a home rule village. We have some service and staffing weaknesses that need to be upgraded, oftentimes due to lack of resources. We see the discussion of homelessness both as a strength, a weakness, and an opportunity, which we can discuss. We're landlocked. There's traffic congestion that is seen as a perceived weakness. Parking shortages can be seen as a weakness, and then reserves are something we see as a weakness that needs to be treated and upgraded. Opportunities, we see the ever-changing demographics as an opportunity to capture new residents of Grange and engage them. The evolution and use of new technologies, shared services like expanded dispatch, new resident communications, future board and commission talent, social services, the Opus Project, 47th and East Avenue space, land, public partners, collaboration and communication, and the industrial district development. And finally, threats. We see, among other things, the state of Illinois as I guess, a threat. We see regional competition, not so much as a threat, but something we have to constantly stay ahead of and be mindful of, and see how that plays out. Unregulated video gaming was seen as a threat by the discussion. Homelessness, aging infrastructure, flooding, Grange Road traffic, trucks, regional traffic, and revenues. Finally, the third session was focused on goal setting. And this process consisted of 2 subcomponents. First, members of the village's management team provided a status update on the strategic goals within their respective areas of responsibility. Each report concluded with a staff recommendation. Second, after each presentation, there was feedback or comment from the clerk and the board as to whether a goal should be retained, modified, or designated as completed. So up on the screen, you see a variety of these goals, and let me see if there's a couple pages here, so we'll bounce back and forth. We won't go through all of these goals, but let me discuss the top line goals that were either reaffirmed or added. One was to enhance existing and develop new public information practices. How can we efficiently get information out to residents, to businesses, to each other as a functional board, and use technology that even in the last few years has become available to us? I think you'll see that manifested in a workshop and an emphasis in our upcoming budget discussions. Two, complete implementation and commence with the operation of a combined dispatch center. And that's really a priority of the board and something that we believe will add resources and effectiveness to what we do in law enforcement. A third, is to continue monitoring land use and the village's planning trends and update the village's zoning code as needed. Last meeting, and tonight, there's some zoning matters, and you've heard us talk about the need to take a look at those as it relates to the impacts on various aspects of the village. Complete the redevelopment of the YMCA property. The Opus project is certainly a goal. Stone Avenue train station master plan execution that we've already made good progress on. Some of the things that you'll see have fallen off there, or they're not up there anymore, that were quite a priority 2 years ago, was the fight on the Emerald ash borer. That has largely run its course, and so we are placing our resources on continuing to plant many, many new trees each year in Grange to keep that urban canopy, as well as other resources in public works. The other aspect that was not reaffirmed because it was completed was the restructuring of the police department in a way and in a manner where we feel is highly reflective of the resources and the ability to put additional frontline law enforcement on the street with the right training and the right sort of division of labor within our department. We've got some new goals to work with ComEd to improve system reliability and the appearance of the infrastructure. Part of the Opus project was to bury the above ground and somewhat unsightly lines as you're coming into the village in a populated area, things like that. And to enhance the use of our advisory boards and commissions. We've got some talented people that have lent their voice and their time to village service, and we want to continue to cultivate that for our own betterment as a service entity, local government. We're going to work to resolve the whole matter of cost containment versus what is new normal in our village budgeting process. We've been in cost containment for several years, and we have to assess our resources and what becomes, quote, the new normal. We're going to do consider some facilities planning as a topic for a workshop. These are village facilities that have aging issues. Some we've recently invested in, and some need some assistance. We've talked about doing an economic development workshop with our CEDC to discuss strategy and tactics. And Tier 3 stormwater management as a topic for future workshop, reduction of residential flow, lot coverage, impervious surfaces, etc., and other matters as it relates to 47th and East Avenue in terms of final consensus with IDOT. And that's about it. I'd like to, again, thank the village board and the team for their engagement. Overarching all of this is our budget. So these are goals that come from the planning process, and one way a village can walk the walk is to make decisions and set priorities within the framework of our budget. And that's really where that does play out at a very hyper-local level, very specific level. So that's what we're going to be working on in the weeks ahead. Overarching all that is our pensions and our reserves, which continue to be challenged by macroeconomic conditions. So we're committed to continuing to move those in the right direction. And with that, again, providing efficient, affordable, effective local government for those we serve. Other items with the board, anything you want to add to the discussion? I tried to encapsulate as much of it as I could, or department heads. Trustee Langen, you're all right with that? Trustee McCarty?
Thank you. Yes, I think you've done a very nice job of summarizing the things we talked about, and I'd like to add one of my pet projects that we did talk considerably about is an understanding of the who, what, why of flooding in the Grange and stormwater management and all those things, and working towards a consolidated master plan for that so that we are no longer making random decisions and hoping for the best. And I think we reached agreement that that is something we should be looking to, and hopefully that will get added as we go along in our process.
Great. Thank you, Trustee. With that, I believe some of this is posted, or is it not posted, Bob? It will be after tonight on our village website. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. And with that, that concludes my report for this evening. And I would ask Mr. Clerk if you would read the items on the omnibus agenda, please.
Certainly. Matters on the omnibus agenda will be considered by a single motion and vote because they have already been considered fully by the board at a previous meeting or have been determined to be of a routine nature. Any member of the Board of Trustees may request that an item be moved from the omnibus agenda to current business for separate consideration. Item A, ordinance, variation, required front yard, Julia and McAllister Farone, 300 South 9th Avenue. Item B, ordinance, variation, required front yard and maximum building coverage, Tonya and Jack Devine, 230 South Catherine Avenue. Item C, purchase, fire department replacement of fire prevention utility vehicle. Item D, minutes of the Village of LaGrange Board of Trustees regular meeting Monday, February 8, 2016. Item E, consolidated voucher 160222.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We have no business under current business this evening, so that is the main of our agenda for consideration. Item number 3 on our agenda are public comments regarding items that are on our agenda this evening. Seeing none, item number 4 is the consideration of the omnibus agenda.
I move for approval of the omnibus agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there a discussion or comment on the omnibus agenda?
Mr. McCarty has a comment.
Trustee McCarty.
Thank you, President Livingston. I was tempted to remove the item for the front yard for the variation for the 230 South Catherine Avenue because once again we are asked to approve an additional lot coverage over the minimum, and as we stated, this is a severe problem in LaGrange. I don't think, however, it's fair for me to do that when we require a unanimous vote of the board that's here, and it's also not fair to require the homeowners to delay for a month or more because of that. But I would like to emphasize again with the board, and this is perhaps the 3rd or 4th meeting in a row where we've been faced with one of these, and each time we say, well, we've approved them before. We have to stop approving these. We have to work with the Zoning Board of Appeals to understand that this is a very important issue in LaGrange, and I'm going to implore the architect, Tim Trumpeter, to stop doing this. Find ways to not go 150 feet over. Find ways to compensate with impervious area. Find ways to make our village better, not more crowded, not more impervious. It's important $14 million for flood control is a lot of money, and we can do better. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Trustee McCarty. Other questions or comments on the omnibus agenda? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, roll call vote.
Trustee Kotinek.
Aye.
Trustee Kukler.
Aye.
Trustee McCarty.
Aye.
Trustee Langen.
Aye.
With that, the agenda passes. No items under current business this evening. Item number 6, Manager's Report. Mr. Polipshin.
There is no manager's report this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you. Item number 7, public comments regarding matters not on the agenda this evening. Seeing none, we have no matters before executive session this evening. Item number 9, trustee comments. All right, seeing none, would seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
We are adjourned until March the 14th at 7:30 p.m. Thank you.